Now let's have a look on how the Postman monitors work. Postman Monitors allows you to run your collection at regular intervals. While this is a pro feature, you can still try it out with a free account. And you can currently make 1000 API calls per month for free. The setup is quite easy and can be accomplished within the Postman app. All I have to do is to go inside my collection, and if I click the monitors tab here, I will see if I have any existing monitors. If I click add a monitor, configuration will pop up where the collection name is specified and I can give the monitor a name. Let's call this just monitor 1. I have the possibility of selecting the environment. In this case, the environment is the Trello API. And then I have to schedule how often the monitor will run. In this case, let me just put a minute timer, and this will run every 5 minutes. Additionally, I have the possibility of selecting different regions, which means that the Postman servers in a specific region will try to access your API. I'll just leave it with US West for this demonstration. There's a possibility of selecting additional preferences, and here you can specify email notification in case the API has any failures or errors. You can specify a request timeout in case your server is responding a bit slower, or you can specify a delay between the requests, very similar to the collection runner. In case your SSL certificate is not valid or has some problems, or Postman has some problems accessing it, you can just disable SSL validation. And this is another checkbox that you can select regarding redirects if Postman should follow any redirects. Now, these additional preferences are not really required. If you think you need them, it's just good to know that they are there. I will just leave them as they are and close this window. Now, after reviewing all the settings and making sure that everything looks good, all I have to do now is click monitor this collection, and you will see under your collection here, under monitors, that I already have a monitor. You are totally free to add different monitors, and for example, adding different monitors would make sense if you want to test with different environments. So this may be one use case, but it's totally up to you how you want to add the monitors if you need additional monitors in that case. Now, if I click this monitor, a new browser window will pop up, and I will be automatically logged into my account, which I already used inside Postman. And I can already see that the first monitoring is just starting, and once it will be completed, I'll be able to see here the results of that monitor. If you later decide that you want any changes to the monitor, you can just as easily go again under monitors and edit the monitor, and this will open up another browser window inside the Postman dashboard, which allows you to do the exact same settings. And the same, in case you don't need it, you just delete the monitor and you don't have to know anything about it anymore. Using the Postman dashboard in the monitors part, you can easily see if you have any monitors up and running. So in this case, you can see the monitor that I have. Just as well as in Postman, you can add additional monitors and you can change them if you like using this interface. So in case one of the monitors encounters any errors, you will be able to see here the reports. Just as well, if you configured a notification by email, you will get an email with a link to the specific report, and then you can exactly see what went wrong. Once the monitor starts running, you will be able to see the diff calls that were made, how fast the response was overall, and if there are any failures in it. So you'll see here the amount of failures that occurred, and here will be and here below you will be able to see what are the results. You're able to see here the reports in a very similar interface as the collection runner, and you will see which of the requests failed, which of the tests actually failed. There's also the possibility of seeing the console, so in case you are doing any debugging, make sure you use console log, and that will give you that information here, and you can easily then see what actually happened. You can switch between different dates, so different requests as they occurred. You'll see here that you will be able to see here that in this case I have a constant failure, but over time maybe there are just some sporadic failures that happen, or all of a sudden you will see in the timeline there starting a certain point there was an error, and most likely then you will be able to trace that back. In the monitors tab, you'll have an overview of any monitors that you have, how many failures do they have, and if there's an average response time and stuff like that. You will see that there, and you can select them by different filters. Overall, the interface is very easy to use, and I will let you discover it by yourself. So just to recap, once you have a configuration saved, once your setup is ready, the Postman servers will call your API and record the results of the calls. If you're using the Pro version, you can even integrate with external services to receive additional notifications if notifications by email are not really enough for you. As mentioned, you can get email notifications and additional inspector runs in the Postman dashboard, and you can access the dashboard every time from Postman because it will automatically log you in. Now, it's important to understand that the Postman servers are not in the same network as you are, and they may not have permission to access any pre-production servers, any testing servers that you have, and additionally local hosts will not be available for them. So in case you need additional permissions, you need to talk with your IT department or whoever is responsible to make sure that this access from outside are possible. From what I know, if you're a Pro customer, they will even give you a fixed IP address for this monitor so that you can easily whitelist that specific IP address. But in that case, make sure you get in contact with support so that they can arrange that for you. Now I wanted to talk about a couple of limitations that you should be aware of. First of all, as you saw, you can easily use environment variables, but it's important to notice that you cannot import existing global variables. Nevertheless, if you need to, for whatever reason, you can easily create global variables from scripts at runtime. Environment variables work just fine, so you don't have to worry about that. Additionally, global and environment variables are not persisted if created or changed during the runtime. So that's a bit different from how things work in Postman, where you can, even from the collection run, for example, you can persist it variables. So once you make a run and if that specific request, you actually save some information as a variable, it will be available for later runs. Anything outside this runtime, let's call it that way, will be later not available. So this means that you will not see any changes to these variables in Postman. I would not really see this as a disadvantage, but it really depends on your context. One of the examples I'd show is where you create different boards IDs and you have like a local storage where the last used board ID is saved, to call it that way. So something like that which persists over multiple iterations will be, in this case with the monitors, not available, because the monitor itself, it will not be able to write back to your own environment, which is available in Postman. Again, I do not see it as a disadvantage, but it depends on your context. My preference generally is to try to make each collection run independent, and at the end clean any variables that were used during the runtime and not really expect that the next run will need anything that it's not already defined. To sum everything up, Postman monitors have a low entry barrier for less technical persons who do not have any experience with a continuous integration server like Jenkins, so this is a feature really worth exploring. This is the first tool that will run on a non-developer machine automatically, and this is quite important to notice. Additionally, it is easy to configure, and for most use cases it works just fine. I personally think this is a nice feature to use if you have an external API that you are offering and you want to make sure that, for example, third parties can access and work with it. It is generally limited in features compared with what you can do with Newman, which we will discuss in the following lectures. But nevertheless, make sure you try it out as you have 1000 API calls with your free account.